Making a nearly 180 years old rifle shoot straight again is a great adventure. This rifle was in ruins a few months ago, but now it's range ready and ready to tell its story about firearms history. So if you ever wondered about the importance of cast steel, gain twist, choke and taper bore, picket bullet, this is your time now. Hello YouTube, this is Captain Ball here, your favorite gun channel in beautiful bright Hunglish language. And today I have another interesting rifle for you. Oh, no, it does not look interesting, but in fact it tells a lot about firearms history. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a rifle that looks like a Hawken rifle, but it is actually not a Hawken rifle. This rifle was made in the 1850s in Cleveland, Ohio, by a local gunsmith called Peter Gaines. And although it looks like a Hawken rifle, it is actually a picket rifle, which is a completely different matter. Now, when I decided to buy this rifle, it was in really bad shape. The stock was broken, the lock lacked the half cock, the trigger pull was too light, and the rifling had also issues. But I see a good project in this rifle because I always wanted to have a small caliber rifle for my son. And he's going to be 11 this year, which means that probably he's ready for his first muzzleloader. But don't tell it to him yet. Although it looks like a poor boy's rifle, it tells a lot about the early firearms history, the early industrialization of the firearms making in the United States. Now, let's check the history of this gun first. Well, we do not have too much information about Peter Gaines. He's not listed in Stöckel, he's not listed in A. Mervyn Carey's American Firearms Makers, but he's listed in the 1853 directory, business directory of Cleveland. It says that he had a gunsmith shop on Oregon Street. He must have been one of the smaller gunsmiths that bought commercially available parts and assembled the rifles in his own gun shop. A good proof of this is the fading inscription on the barrel beach which says Remington cast steel. Now this tells a lot about the industrialization of the gun making in the United States. A broken stock, a bent hammer, a dysfunctional lock, a rough barrel prevented this rifle to be used again. Rifles in such bad state are usually salvaged, but I decided to save this and make it a shooter again. What you see here is not the first shooting session, but this was the first occasion when I was able to get the picket rifle by Peter Gaines' group. My charge was 35 grains of 2F Swiss powder, 24 grains of corn wet to raise the bullet above the rough spot in the rifling, and a 0.25mm patch lubricated with tallow, and of course a 375 round ball. Although there were some flyers, some of the shots struck right where they had to, indicating a good track. But let's check now what makes this half-stock rifle so special. I have 5 reasons for this. First, the caliber is very small. It is 38 caliber, so this is definitely not a Hawken rifle. And it was designed for shooting a picket ball. The picket ball was an early conical ball, an odd-shaped conical ball that was loaded with a cloth patching into the bore. Second, this bore is made from cast steel, so it is not anymore iron welded on a mandrel. This is a stronger barrel. I will tell the story about that later. Third, this bore was made by Remington. It is the first commercially successful gun part of Remington, the cast steel barrel blank. Fourth, it has a very special rifling. It is called the gain twist. I will tell about this later as well. And fifth, it has a choke bore or tapper bore. I will describe this later as well. But before we continue, let me thank you for your support, your donation through Patreon, or buying our products like the American Civil War cartridge boxes and percussion revolver cartridge formers, or US Arsenal Stadias, or powder measures, or rubber printing plates for Arsenal bundles, or new tools for flintlock gun management. They all help to keep the quality of a channel high. Without you, this would be much difficult. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much again. Let's start with what a picket rifle is. Well, the picket rifle is intended to shoot a picket ball. A picket ball is a sugar cone shaped ball that was loaded into the bore with normal cloth patching or with cross patching. This was a very popular phenomenon in the US in the early 40s and also in the 50s. But it did not really catch up in Europe. In Europe, probably there is 1 or 2 rifles, military rifles as well, that shot the patched conical ball, that they were not picket balls. It is, for example, the 1851 Swiss Feldstützer rifle that was actually firing originally a patched conical ball. Now, these sugar cone-shaped picket balls were very hard to load into the bore in line with the axis. This is why it was invented to use a force muzzle, or it was invented to use a short starter for these bores. My rifle does not have a short starter and doesn't have that kind of force muzzle as well, so it is a poor boy's rifle. The earliest gunmaker to use cast steel for gun barrels was Remington. It was Eliphalet Remington II who was starting to experiment in the 1820s with cast steel. By that time, the company was mainly producing agricultural tools, but by the 1840s, the cast steel barrel blank became one of the most important products of the company. Remington also developed a very good method for deep drilling these cast steel bars. I bought this rifle as a project rifle for my son and for saving a beautiful item like this for the future. It's simple but beautiful. When I first cleaned the bore, I felt that there are some rough spots in it. The first treatment was the cleaning with the brass brush and bristle brush, and of course with cleaning patches, and I felt that there are some rough spots in the rifling. When I first went to the range, I realized that the best I can do with this rifle at 50 meter is a 10 centimeter group that's around the 9 ring or 8 or 9 ring group on the target, on the standard 50 meter pistol target, which is, let's say, okay, but we are expecting much more from a rifle like this. So this is where I decided to remove the breech plug and to lead lap the bore. Now this is how I did it. This is not the first time the breech plug is removed. On the first occasion I took the rifle to a gunsmith who had a large vise and proper tools. Before this the barrel was cleaned and the breech was submerged in penetrating oil for days. Usually heating the breech is also necessary, but in my case it came out without heat, fortunately. When removing the breech plug, always have a mark as a reference to show the original position, and never forget to protect the surface of the parts with brass or any soft metal layer. Now this is how a gain twist looks like, slower at the breech and faster at the muzzle. The bore itself was not in bad shape, but when I cleaned it with tight cleaning patch, I felt some rough spots. I decided to lead polish these parts using fine polish paste with diamond particles. Lead lapping can smoothen the corroded parts in the grooves and on the lens as well, and it will also preserve the edges of the rifling. My leading bolt is an oversized, greased bullet pushed through the bore and then drilled through on my lathe. It is secured between two nuts, so I'll be able to upset it more when necessary. The bolt is inserted on an M5 threaded shank of a ramrod. Polishing is done all along the rifling. The leading bolt must pass through the bore entirely. This is a long process. Time by time stop and check the progress, and if necessary add more polishing paste and fasten the nuts so the bolt will be a bit more upset into the rifling. Rough parts collect fooling and will tear the patches, and the thorn patch won't lead to accuracy for sure. It took me half a day work, and even if the rough parts mostly disappeared, the rifling was still not shiny. But that is probably the best that could be achieved here without recutting the entire rifling. Before reinserting the breech plug, it must be properly cleaned. I usually cover the threads with PTFE tape, and where it is not possible with good quality bronze paste. This is the first shooting after the lead lapping. The charge is 40 grains of 2F Swiss powder, 24 grains of corn wet, and the patched 375 round ball.
Ja.
Servus. And ladies and gentlemen, this is a good proof that this rifle can still do the job. And it looks like my little treatment with that lead lapping really worked. It tightened the group so much. I have 3 shots in the same hole at the 10 ring, at the inner 10 ring. I have one here that is also in the 10 size ring, which is very good at 50 meters from a rifle like this. I have a flyer here, but this is why we shoot 5 shots and we only measure 4 when we are trying to get a picture about the groove of a rifle. And this is what I really love about these old rifles. Of course, it's a Remington barrel, so what more can we expect? But that's what I love, that if a rifle was designed for a patch projectile, then even if the bore is rough, even if it is not perfect, you can still make it shoot with a little treatment, with a little help. I am a happy cap and ball. I'm an absolutely happy cap and ball, ladies and gentlemen. So the Remington gun barrels were cast from steel. They were deep drilled in the factory. They were also roughly reamed in the factory. And all the other thing, that was the job of the gunsmiths. So the installation of the sights, the breech plug, all the accessories, rifling and polishing, they were done in the shop of the gunsmiths. The cast steel opened the military market for Remington. In 1845 they took over John Griffith's order for 5,000 Mississippi rifles. Now these rifles are manufactured with cast steel barrels and they were delivered to the US Army between 1850 and 1852. These were the first cast steel barrels firearms of the United States Army. The cast steel barrels are significantly stronger than the welded iron barrels because they don't have that longitudinal seam all across the barrel. It is also more cost-effective and time-effective to make in industrialized companies. In fact, today all the firearms making companies are using the same kind of method, so they all start with a cast steel bar. Let's check now why the rifling of this rifle is so special. Let's talk about the gain twist. The gain twist is also often called the progressive rifling. But let's not mix this with the progressive depth rifling. Progressive depth rifling means that the deepness of the grooves is larger at the breech than at the muzzle. The gain twist is essentially a gradual increase in the pitch of the rifling from the breech towards the muzzle. Now this is not an American invention. It was known in Europe in the middle of the 18th century. Probably it was a Swiss invention. It became a really popular phenomenon in the 1840s, 50s in the US. Let's check now what its advantages are. First of all, there is less friction in the barrel breech, meaning that the fouling of the barrel will be less compared to the uniform pitch riflings. It is also stated that the bullet is started on a slow rifling rate, which means that it cannot jam the rifling even if it is started with a higher velocity. Second, the gain twist with the choke bore provides a better seal at the muzzle, which means that we can utilize the power of the gases much better. It will result in a higher muzzle velocity. Third, it is set to hold the muzzle-loaded bullet in position much better than in the case of uniform twist. In my experience, the gain twist rifles will shoot the patch round bore very accurately, probably better than uniform twist bores. But to reach that exceptional accuracy, in most cases you need a heavier charge. Let's talk about the choke bore now. It is also a new phenomenon in the 1840s, 1850s, and it simply means that the diameter of the bore at the breech is a bit larger than at the muzzle. It is set to keep the bullet in position while it is traveling through the rifling much better than in the case of uniform twist rifling, and it also makes the loading procedure easier a bit. The choke in the bore was created after rifling the barrel. A leading rod and a leading bolt was used to gently enlarge the bore from the breech towards the muzzle. If the enlargement was gradual, it's a taper bore. If the enlarged part is cylindrical, then it's a choke bore. The choke bore in my case truly is loading. As the surface of the rifling is still not smooth, fooling can be an issue in my rifle. But even if the bullet was a bit harder to ram down after a few dozens of shots, the accuracy still did not suffer. This is a good proof that the concept is working. The charge here is the same 40 grains of 2F Swiss powder. Ladies and gentlemen, now I have around 30-35 shots in the rifle today. I did not clean the barrel, no wiping at all between the shots, so this is exactly what it does if you shoot continuously half a day. And my shots are at 50 meters from the rest, still in the size of the 10 ring. And I have one flyer here, but that's the human factor. And this is what I told you, that this is why we evaluate only 4 shots from a 5-shot group. So, Mr. Eliphalet Remington, Mr. Gintz, you did your job very well. I can officially declare that this rifle is still very accurate, even though the barrel is rough, even if it is not shining, it is not perfectly new. But who cares when it still can shoot a group like this? Love it. So ladies and gentlemen, this rifle turned out to be a tech driver, and I was really happy to see that this group is something that this rifle can repeat time by time. And this is a good reason why you must not ever give up, because the patch round bore rifles will always have a good load. Believe me, I have fired hundreds of rifles in my life and they all found the proper load finally, if you have the patience for that, of course. The Peter Gintz Picket rifle is surely not the most noble rifle of all times, but still it is very close to my heart. Surely not the most powerful arm ever, but I'm pretty sure that it will teach a lot about shooting and hunting to my son. All its features are designed for target shooting, so I do hope that it will follow my kid from the bench rest to competitive offhand shooting. I hope that you enjoyed this little time travel again. If you wish to support us, then please share, comment, like and subscribe to the channel. If you wish to support us by donations, you can do it through Patreon, or you can also buy our products. Both links are visible in the description of the video. So ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay cool and keep your powder dry.